Hours have gone by with nothing. I've typed the same stuff over and over, which is getting me nowhere. It's time to get something done. Smith. Before I go further with this, I want to establish how much I hate you. Although, in a sense, I'm proud of you. This trap is rather elaborate. It even uses my own idea against me. You've thought around every corner to ensure my suicidal demise in the end, and for that, I commend you. How long you go on is lost to me. I'm not sure how, but perhaps this log will be recovered, and someone else will want to dent your face in. You may have gone years without being caught, but you won't continue for much longer. Not like this. I'll try to be sure of it. Now, with my personal message out of the way, I'm not sure where to begin. I have what feels to be all the time in the world. Yet, that's not something I can be sure of. For some time I've been oblivious to the loss of blood coming from my wrist. It wasn't apparent until the pain began to set in. I'm hoping I can at least keep alive until this is finished, wherever it may be going. I apologize for any blatant typos or unfixed errors. Perfect paper isn't my highest objective at the moment. I'll start by talking about him, I suppose. Smith. We worked for a time, but we never shared a friendship. Our relationship was strictly business. We never met outside of our work and left much of our personal lives undisclosed. Knowing his past could have surely prevented this, at least this outcome. I worked at Massachusetts General Hospital, by the way. My occupation is a genuine researcher, but I had a bit of a side interest, which Smith apparently shared. As I developed in the medical research field, I began a fascination with technological enhancements. It was more of a fantasy to me, a strange world that I dreamed of and sketched throughout the day. For Smith, it was essential, to say the least. It was his pursuit. It was his obsession. The first day Smith confronted me while I was on break, at the time, I believed he was actually working for Mass General. However he sneaks about, he must be good at it. Smith was drawn in by a sketch of mine. It was an undeveloped, spur-of-the-moment idea. A wrist device similar to a watch that could regulate parts of the body by injecting various chemicals in the bloodstream. In theory, it could adjust body heat, maintain blood sugar levels, keep its user alert and awake, or vice versa. It was another fantasy to me, as I would have never had the time or resources to construct such a piece. Smith, on the other hand, saw potential in it. Him and I chatted on it for a while, about our similar views on the concept. It's hard for me to say this now, but at the time, I found him to be quite an engaging man to speak with. His insights into the world of technology were beyond any I've ever heard. He's the only individual I've ever spoken to who looks at tech enhancements as a real use and possibility. From that day, we scheduled various dates in which we worked on the prototype device. Smith was rather paranoid of ideas being stolen, so we kept our location and progress quiet from the other researchers. We worked at his apartment, which was secluded enough. Throughout the project, though, Smith never stopped encouraging me, if encouraging would be an appropriate word for it. It appeared to be the only matter he focused on, annoyed that I didn't feel the same. I mean, yes, I thought the project had potential, but I still had a job to keep, at the very least. This frustrated him for sure. It was clear that Smith knew far more on the subject than myself. He constantly spoke about tech he's worked with for years, and after a week of collaborating, I wanted out, but was unsure of how to go about it telling him. After all, he grew angry with me even if I even questioned him. Abandoning him wouldn't be much more promising. The pain is worse now for sure. Maybe the wound's worse than I thought. Alright, I'll state that I had one major interest outside of tech enhancement. Over the years, I've been developing an interest for writing. When I think about it, my interest in the latter came from my writing, as the idea started out just story notes. I never explained this to Smith for reasons I hope I've made apparent. Naturally, the project with Smith had taken up, or if not all, of my time outside of work. Smith practically forced me to meet with him whenever I could. If I began to refuse, he would interrogate me, asking me about my life. What could I possibly be doing in place of our progress? I'll admit, He frightened me. I'm not sure exactly what about him was unsettling, but he seemed capable of pushing to the end, meeting his goals at whatever cost. I'll leave out the time in between, but before I left the project, we had made significant progress, though we were still nowhere close in finishing the prototype device. We had made much ground in getting the basic function working. The only reason I stayed was because of the device itself, that my fantasy sketch might just become a real working tool. Then, all our progress was shattered. Unsurprisingly, Smith grew impatient. Despite our progress, he wasn't yet satisfied. He wanted the device fully operational right away. Began to tamper with at the delicate piece. His hands were shaking, jolting with various screws and micro-sized vials. He began to ultimately screwing with the code, erasing hours of work and rendering the technology near useless. He blamed me for our failure. Of course, I tried to argue how it was his own fault, but this only sent him off more. "What have you done?" he screamed. "You never cared about this from the start, have you? This was just some fucking drawing you made that I wanted to see for real. This is the stuff I live for. I've done this before. I've created my own creations and tested them. What have you done?" He grew violent, making threats and throwing objects about. Needless to say, I didn't want any part of him anymore. I left him on the spot. I continued with my regular job and found a peace of mind again. Smith's threats continued to echo in memory, however, as they were too sinister to just be passed off. 4 days after I abandoned the project, I was approached by 2 men. Where they came from, I didn't know, but they were investigators. They asked if I'd seen Smith, as they had been tracking him for a long time. I told them a bit of what I knew, and what followed was a long and tedious interrogation. Eventually, when they knew they'd been told everything, they told me the truth about Smith. Smith Alexander wasn't lying when he said he had done this before. Despite meeting me at the hospital and describing his job, he's never worked there in his life. He never worked in any hospital or any medical or science profession. He has slid and faked his way about the systems for years, with almost no one catching on. As unsettling as it is for an impersonator to be creeping his way about a medical facility, it was his reasons for being there that set me off. He was looking for live subjects, injured individuals, for him to test his designs. He scanned businesses, schools, and public areas to find a wide array of experimental material. In short, he used people as human test dummies. What he did with his captives ranging from lethal to vomit-inducing. The investigators told me some reports, as well as showed me some photos. He loved to tamper with the heart, resulting with some of his less brutal murders. However, his psychotic designs had no limits. Some of the photos showed a man with both of his arms sawed off, with metal rods replacing the limbs. Another photo showed a woman with her back filleted open, syringes lining up her spine, which had turned into a sickly black color. He didn't discriminate when it came to his victims. I stopped looking at the photos when they started to include children. I'm getting drowsy now. Fuck. I should at least get to my own predicament before I end. Last night, I was working on a novel of mine, right inside my apartment. It was still unfinished, but I was closing in on its conclusion. Despite the confidence, a lack of rest got the better of me, and I drifted into sleep right at the desk. I just realized that I may have been knocked out by the water I was drinking at the desk. It had an interesting taste to it, but my focus was devoted to writing. Smith must have snuck in here before and drugged the glasses. I need to keep on subject. I woke this morning right in my apartment at my desk. The computer screen blared in front of my eyes, which showed a blank page. My ears were greeted with 2 words. Start typing. A cold, narrow shaft bumped against my head. The voice was familiar, but given that I woke up seconds before, my mind was still dazed and unfocused. Start typing, damn it! The voice shouted at me, with a cold surface being pressed against me. The voice was Smith. He was holding a pistol to my skull. Smith? What the hell are you? Type, or your face will be smeared into the monitor. I listened, despite my confusion. Slews of letters appeared on the screen as I was only complying for my life. There, he said. This is what you wanted, correct? You wanted to write. I knew it was your hobby. I've seen you work like this a number of times. Now that you're out of the project, you can have all of the time in the world to write. Smith reached over my shoulder towards my right arm. He pressed a small button on a watch, which was secure on my wrist. I hadn't noticed it until I reached for it. Don't stop now. I'll explain your situation. Oh, and that's it, by the way. Your design. I made it possible. All without your help. It's a prototype, you see, as it only has one feature. It's connected to the keyboard you're using right now, and more importantly, its needle is connected to your bloodstream. Fiddle with it, or stop typing for more than 10 seconds. Then it will send a small dose of lethal poison into your system. Your heart, along with everything else, will die in less than a minute. All you have to do to prevent that is to keep typing. Keep typing till your heart's desire. You're fucking crazy! I screamed, smashing the keyboard with a fist. Don't type too aggressive now. That keyboard breaks and so do you. Before you get any clever exploits in mind, I've wired the keyboard to the watch in specific ways. Tricks such as holding down the keys or holding down one letter won't work. Don't bother trying to get up either. I've removed all the phones from this room, and there is no inhabited room nearby in the building. Help is unreachable, unless you run out the room. And if you wish to attempt a suicidal escape, by all means, go ahead. You won't get away with this. Someone will come for me eventually, and I'll tell them everything. Perhaps they will. But will you go on for that long? I guess that's up for you to find out. Now please, continue to write. I won't distract you any longer. Enjoy your session, David. And with that, the bastard walked out. If I had to guess, he still hasn't been caught. That was about 6 hours ago. If I've been keeping track of time right, he's right when he said there's no way out of this. I've been here continuously writing and deleting the same stuff, trying to think of a plan. He's left every crack sealed as far as escape goes. Despite his warning, I actually did try and screaming for help earlier, and no one's shown since then. After hours of useless plans, I knew the best and only course of action would be to write my own final chronicle. I've explained the story and the trapped, so the only purpose left is to write the warning. My wrist is killing me at this point, and the pain's moved up towards my shoulder. It's painful to lift my right fingers, let alone my arm. Smith rushed most of his prototypes, and this one's no exception. Yet if I keep going, I'm sure I'll die from blood loss soon. Over the course of typing this, I found the best loophole available. The computer's locked on this text program, but I can still send out the document directly from it. I'm going to think of every address I can remember, even ones of those I don't know personally. My name is David Mallory. Smith Alexander is likely still out there, wherever he may be. He probably skipped town right after trapping me here. He's dangerous to say the least. He uses random people to test as material to his terrible rushed ideas. He's created devices to kill, like the one clasped on my wrist right now. I don't know what his end goal is, but he's had no problem murdering so far. End goal. That needs to be said. He must be stopped. Despite Smith's impatience, arrogance, and outright insanity, he has a plan. Over the course of working with him, he has made hints to something bigger, more significant than his regular brutal enhancements. He's talked about how he planned to bless society with a grand technology, a modification that would be to all for all. He even talked about how it was sneaking into circulation. Whether it's a virus, nano-sized tech, a fucked up drug, I don't know. But whatever twisted vision it is, Smith is capable of it. He's been capable of all the violence he's committed so far, and he's a danger to anyone at this point. If he's got away with his crimes so far, what's to stop him now? That's it for me. I've gotten out all I can in this little time. Fuck you, Smith. God damn it. Fuck you. The pain's moving towards my chest now. My heart. I guess this watch didn't work as well as Smith thought. By the time I put in the address and send this out, I'll be close to killing over. I'll let the poison take me then. It should be less painful, I hope. Forget about me. My life. Remember Smith, though. Remember his atrocities that I've detailed. That he's still out there. And he's still working.